So in this video, I'm going to talk about the hidden benefits of sharing your stories as interview prep. And I've noticed over time there are two extremes in candidates. First, there's people who pay me thousands of dollars just to look at their stories. Okay, and then there's people who never share their stories, primarily in my training programs, even though I advertise my training as a hands-on learning platform, with maybe a slight exception for Amazon interviews. Okay, so I'd like to clarify here what are the benefits of sharing these stories. What will you benefit? How will you benefit from this? And what I found happens here that's interesting to you as a candidate. First thing is that over time, if I track the number of people who share the stories with me versus the others, I found that overwhelmingly the ones who share their stories also far more likely to pass these job interviews. And in fact, this approach has been so successful that I was able to build entire training programs based on examples from people who are primarily successful in their job interviews, right? So another key reason could be here that these people who pass these interviews worry a lot about how can I improve my story? You know, can this guy help me? Can this dashboard help me to improve my stories? Versus, you know, what if Dan will steal my stories? You know, so this would be the first one, the more conceptual one, if you want. The second reason why this approach is quite beneficial is I found that people who share their stories with others are also proud of their stories. Okay, so if you're not proud of the story, there maybe you're a bit more reticent to doing this, then you're basically entering that road, you know, of, hey, but I don't really like my stories. Maybe I should, you know, change somehow or stuff like that. Whereas, you know, it's no secret that no one's stories are perfect. And that's actually quite the best way to sell yourself in job interviews, if you think about it. But the main challenge here is for you to have a starting point and to improve from then on. Right? And the moment you start sharing those, that's a great sign that, hey, you are, you know, you're conscious that, yes, there is room to improve, and you're willing to invest into this improvement process, right? So I've even encouraged in a previous video, I've encouraged you to share your story banks with your interviewers prior to your job interview, right? Because, you know, you have nothing to hide from them. If you prepare for a job interview, you have a great story bank, which not many people can say they achieve, right? So this will be the second reason. And finally, the third reason why I believe it's a successful approach is because most of you, if only you added 2 or 3 or 4 stories into my stories dashboard, for instance, you will so quickly realize that you're doing it all wrong. You know, for instance, you'll be adding a name of the story as the interview question, or your examples will be even more vague than ChatGPT's examples. You know, so there is benefit from using something, the stories dashboard, or someone, an interview coach, who knows a little bit about these things, who might be able to guide you on how to improve your stories and ultimately, of course, your interviewing skills. And what I found is that the moment you enter this loop, if you add 3 or 4 stories, you're far more likely to add all your stories in the story bank, right? And when you compare that, I mean, one could argue, hey, Dan, but I could do this in Excel, or I could do it in a Word document. Yes, you could, but what happens here is that when you revise your stories in a Word document, and if you have 50 stories, then it's going to get, you know, a lot like spaghetti. You know, the document is going to be quite challenging to locate your stories. So when you want to do revisions, there's going to be quite challenging for you. Whereas if you use an Excel spreadsheet, then most people never revise those stories because they're bullet points. Anyway, so they consider, yeah, it's good enough, right? So there are all sorts of benefits for using dedicated resources to build your story bank, being another human being, being a tool. But anyway, these are the 3 key benefits that I found that make the most sense to encourage you to share your story bank and your story bank creation process for the purpose of passing job interviews. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.